Hi there, this is Vlad from Ausgeknipst, and in today's video I'm going to show you everything you need to know to use your Minolta SRT 101. The 101 is a SLR made by Minolta in the 70s. It's a very popular and sturdy camera, a lot of mechanics in there, which means that it's pretty reliable, and the light meter also works. Haven't seen a lot of them breaking down. There are different versions of this camera that are basically all the same, and were sold under different names for different markets. They include all the SRT starting from the 100 up to the 303 and 505. Basically all the same cameras with just slight differences in functionality. In the video I'm going to show you what battery to use with the camera and where to insert the battery, how to change lenses, how to set aperture and focus with the camera, how the buttons and dials function, how to load the film in the back of the camera, how to look through the viewfinder, to focus and set correct exposure using the built-in light meter, how to take a photo, and finally how to rewind and unload your film. Now let's start with the battery. The battery is probably the biggest problem with this camera, as the SRT line is built in an era where PX625 mercury cells were widely available, and those aren't anymore due to environmental restrictions. Those batteries had a voltage of 1.35 volts, and due to the mercury they are not longer in the market. And the problem is that as the camera's light meter is calibrated for use with 1.3 volts, you shouldn't use alkaline batteries like a Varta 625, which will fit the battery compartment but will give you wrong readings on the camera's light meter. Fortunately, there is a simple fix for this problem, which I'll show you in a second. Let's open up the battery compartment so you know what I'm talking about. It's located down here. Just use a coin to open it. And now that's how it looks. Good thing is that the batteries, the contacts of the battery compartment are located bottom here, and the other one is going through the battery cap, so top and bottom contacts, which means that you can basically just use such a very cheap hearing aid battery, a zinc air hearing aid battery, which has 1.4 volts. Those basically drop to 1.35, which is exactly the voltage of those old mercury batteries when under stress. And as those are a little smaller than those Varta batteries that that also could fit there but have the wrong voltage, you just can use such a simple rubber ring or something. You can basically even cut it out of cardboard just so the battery won't fiddle around in there. So just we're selling those batteries together with such little adapters. If you're interested in buying one, I'll leave the link in the description below, but you can basically just go to any hardware goods store and buy a rubber O-ring and insert such a zinc air battery inside the battery compartment. Plus side goes up like this, pointing towards the battery cap. And now to activate the light meter, you have this switch here, which you should turn off when the camera is not in use to conserve battery life. There's also a battery check function. Put it here and look through the viewfinder. The needle should move when you go into battery check. And I'll set it to on right now, as I'm going to show you the inside of the viewfinder in a second. When it comes to lenses, the Minolta SRT, like the name already suggests, uses SR lenses. SR lenses include those auto, Rocore, MD and MC lenses. So more modern lenses that would fit a X700, for example, also will work with the Minolta SRT. To remove the lens, you need to press this little lever here and twist it counterclockwise. That's the lens. And one important thing to notice is that there is an aperture coupling lever here, which should engage with a ridge on the lens. So when I attach the lens back on, red dots point towards each other. I twist it until it clicks in place, and now you can see that this little coupling lever is moving together with my aperture ring. Now this tells the camera's light meter what aperture I'm setting on the lens, so the meter reading can be correct. With the lenses you always have an aperture ring and a manual focus dial with distance scales in feet and meters for zone focusing. And on the right side you have a PC sync port for use of external flashes. You also have a hot shoe here, which is pretty nice for attachment of flashes or other accessories. We have strap locks here, a rewind knob that also doubles as an opening mechanism for the back door. Pull it up to open the back door. Viewfinder, shutter speed dial with shutter speeds ranging from 1/1000th of a second down to a slow 1 second shutter speed. Everything mechanical here, and a bulb mode. With the shutter speed also has an integrated ISO dial. To set the ISO, just pull up the collar around the shutter speed dial like this and turn it until you have the desired ISO set. Really nice that this camera is operating fully mechanical, which means that you can also use it without batteries or with when the light meter is died. You can still use the camera. You need to use an external light meter, for example, or a light meter app on your phone, and you're ready to go. So I always prefer mechanical cameras for that reason, because electronics eventually always fail, but those mechanics are really sturdy, especially with the Minolta SR line. We have the advanced lever here and the shutter button release. All in all, a very simple camera, great for beginners, I would say, because there are not so many functions that would distract you, and just the basic manual operations, no auto or half auto modes, no shutter speed or aperture priority modes, just manual setting the aperture and the shutter speed, and that's it. Really nice if you want to learn the basics of camera operations. What I forgot is you have a self-timer dial here. Wouldn't touch it on most old cameras as they tend to jam. But if you need it, you can still use it. And you also have an aperture step-down lever, which means that you get a preview how the image would look if, how the depth of field would look if you step down the lens. That's how it works. Now, before we load the film, let's check the mirror damper and light seals. On this camera we have a mirror damper here, which seems pretty good, but you may or may not need to replace it on your camera depending on its condition. And when we open up the back, we have some light seals here. There is one on the hinge, which is located here, made out of felt material, which is still good, but as you can see it here, there is already some seal material on this back door, which comes from the grooves on top and bottom of the back of the body, and you will need to replace those with most cameras, as if you don't, you may experience light leaks with the camera. If you are interested in buying those, we also sell them in our store, or you could just buy self-adhesive foam and cut them yourself. So other than that, camera looks nice, shutter is clean and without wrinkles. So now let's load our film. I'll just use some test film here. It's a Fomapan 400 ISO film with 24 exposures, so let's set the ISO before loading it so we don't forget it afterwards. Setting it to 400 now, like this. Open the back door by pulling up the rewind lever, insert the film, push it back down. Now pull the film over the shutter, and now you have to insert the film leader inside one of those slits of the take-up spool. Now, while holding the film in place with one of your thumbs, release the shutter and carefully advance the film, making sure that the film is getting wound on the take-up spool. Advance a couple of times. Now I see that it wound properly. Now I can close the back door and I'm ready to go. There is a indicator which will show me how many exposures I have left depending on the film. As I said, this is a 24 exposure film, so I would know when I am reaching the 24, it's time to rewind the film. Now, before rewinding the film, one last thing I want to show you is how the camera viewfinder looks from the inside and what information you can read there. Let me zoom in a little. It's pretty basic design. Now what you see is at the bottom I have a shutter speed scale, a mechanical shutter speed scale, which will tell me what shutter speed I have currently set. I can't see the aperture in the viewfinder. I'll need to remember it or look outside on what I've set right now. And on the right I have a meter needle together with a little coupling circle. Now the goal to reach correct exposure is that I need to turn my aperture dial and my shutter speed dial so that the little circle goes inside the needle. When the outside gets dark, for example, when I put my hand here, obviously I would need to step up my aperture or slower my shutter speed so that I still get correct exposure. If I remove it, needle goes down again. Now I can step down my lens. And lastly, if you want to focus, let me zoom in even more. Camera has a standard metering prism. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have a split screen finder, but you have this inner and outer circle, and as you can see, when I turn the lens, the image becomes clearer, and especially in the center I can see that the inner circle is much more clear all the time than the outer circle. The goal to achieve correct focus is that the sharpness of the inner circle is the same as with the outer circle. Like now, I would know that the wall with those holes is in focus. That's basically it. Let me show you now how to rewind the film after you've finished shooting. Now, when you've finished your roll, you will feel that there is some resistance on the advance and you shouldn't pull it any further. Now, to rewind the film, you need to unlock the rewind by pressing this little safety button at the bottom of the camera. Pull up the rewind lever and rotate it in the direction of this little arrow. Sorry. Now I'll rotate it until I don't feel any resistance anymore. and I can even hear it, the film slipping out of the take-up spool. I won't rewind it completely so that I can use it. Okay, now I already rewound it into the canister. Now it's already finished. It was pretty quick as I didn't do all the 24 exposures. And now the film is ready for being developed at the lab or by yourself at home. That's it for this camera. Pretty simple to use camera. If you have any questions left, any remarks, please leave a comment. And if you need anything for your camera, feel free to check out our store. Buy some accessories from us, really helps us growing. Thanks for watching.